These are authors Ilyse Schapiro and Halie Rich. Now, Ilyse is the founder and president of Ilyse Schapiro Nutrition, a nutrition counseling and consulting practice. She is a nationally recognized expert in the field of nutrition. Before launching her own private practice, she was a dietitian at Joy Bauer Nutrition and served as a clinical dietitian at the Hospital for Special Surgery. We had Joy Bauer here one year. She was wonderful. Halie Rich is proud to be a third-generation vitamin industry executive and entrepreneur and has followed in her family's footsteps as an innovative force in the industry by creating the award-winning Alternavites. It's that brand of melt-in-your-mouth powdered vitamins, which is great for me because I hate swallowing things, so I always ask for that. So thank you so much personally for that. It's been wonderful for me. She is also regarded as a pioneer and expert in her field, and it is my privilege to introduce you to Ilyse Schapiro and Halie Rich. Please give them a hand.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us, and we're so excited to be here. We're going to start off by talking just a little bit about the book, and it's interesting. A lot of people have come up to us and say, how did you decide to write this book, and how did you decide to call it Should I Scoop Out My Bagel? But it's interesting. 4 years ago, Hallie and I are colleagues, and 4 years ago she came to me, and she was like, we need to write a book. And at first we sat down, and it was very serious, and it was very technical. And then we kind of looked at each other and we're like, people want this in like they want the information in a real way. And then we started thinking about all the questions we get asked by colleagues and peers and for me, clients in my office. And we just started sitting and writing it down and we came up with 100 questions, including should I scoop out my bagel? And we'd like to present the information in like a very non-preachy, non-technical way. It's very easy to read. It's very easy to breeze through. And, the content we take seriously, but we kind of make light of it. So, again, it's easy to read, and, you get the most out of the book.
So Ilyse is a registered dietitian. I'm a vitamin industry expert. And there's a lot of synergies between us because either while you take a supplement or while you eat well, you're doing it for the nutrients. And so, there's been a great working relationship between us, and it was really worked out well for the book and for some of the questions that we'll touch upon today with you all. And the answers that we'll give you is that you'll see, we come at it from kind of two different ways. One of our favorite examples is I'm a, huge carb addict. I love carbs. If you take away carbs from me, I'm not a happy person. Ilyse doesn't really care if she has carbs or not. So we come about things different ways. We never want to make anything a no. It's just how to make smart decisions for your lifestyle. What works for her may not work for me and vice versa. And that's the theme of our book. You're never going to find anything that's restricted, that's off limits. It's just about, okay, if you make this decision here, then how do you make a better decision someplace else? And it's about living healthy and living, a life that's well and, concentrates on wellness and not a life that really is about deprivation, sacrifices, and restrictions. So.
Right. Because we know that doesn't work, and there's been countless articles recently about how fad diets don't work, and people who go on The Biggest Loser, eventually they gain the weight back because they're not taught lifestyle choices. So that's our goal for the book. Okay, so our first question had to have been, should I scoop out my bagel?
So, it's interesting. Do any of you guys scoop your bagel? Normally? Not normally? Heard of it
had
before?
Anybody even heard of it, scooping out bagel?
Yeah? Okay, so, I live in Manhattan, she lives in Westchester, so for us, they'll even offer to scoop your bagels where we live. Right. But what basically, just for those of you who don't know, what scooping out your bagel means is kind of just taking out the filling in the middle. It kind of looks like a little hole. We are proponents of scooping your bagel, but like we said, if you don't scoop your bagel, we'll give you a couple other options as well in a minute. But when you scoop your bagel, you're not getting rid of anything that's important. There's no nutrients in there. There's just empty calories, sugars, and carbs. So by scooping it, you're not losing anything nutritious or you're not losing any fiber that would help fill you up. The important thing is when you scoop, if you're going to scoop, don't scoop and then eat it. Scoop it and throw it out. Otherwise, it doesn't count as scooping, even if you don't eat it as part of the bagel. Also, if you're going to scoop your bagel, make sure not to put in too many fillings, right? So you're not going to overfill your bagel because there's more space. You just want to kind of fill it to the rim. And then you also have portion control because it kind of limits what you can have. In addition, to making sure that you want to make sure it's full of protein. So great things would be peanut butter, eggs, chicken salad, or grilled chicken, not chicken salad, sorry, grilled chicken, turkey, anything like that. You really want to kind of mix your carb with your protein just to make sure that you're making it a little bit more nutritious. Low-fat tuna is a good idea. Even something with lox, as you have your omega-3s. If you don't want to scoop your bagel, go for a mini bagel. Just go for half of the bagel. Go for a deli flat instead. So there's different ways you can do, sometimes you're at a meeting, it's kind of embarrassing to sit there and scoop your bagel. So there's, just have half and just limit the schmear or whatever it is you're putting on top of it.
Okay, cool. Okay, so then next, part of our book is a lot of kind of true, false, myth-busting type of things. So one day I actually got this question. I was in the gym and somebody said to me, Ilyse, should I pat my pizza? And I always thought actually patting your pizza did save a lot of calories. We did some research and it really doesn't save that many calories, right? The grease you soak up only, you get rid of about 20 to 50 calories per slice. And if the pizza's been sitting there for a while, you may not even be soaking up the grease. You may just be soaking up the moisture. So we say, you know what, if you want a slice of pizza, that's fine. Maybe just park a little bit further and walk a little bit more. But soaking up the grease really doesn't do anything, so don't even worry about it. And to make your pizza healthier, get a whole wheat crust. You can always put veggie toppings. And if you really want to go the extra mile, you can buy whole wheat crust and do a make your own pizza at home. And another question I get asked every day is, do I have to give up the egg yolk? And now I feel like 20 years ago, egg yolks were the devil. They told you it would cause high cholesterol and heart disease. And now they're saying if you don't have a personal history of high cholesterol, you can have the yolk. I wouldn't have 10 a day, but 1 yolk a day is absolutely fine. I happen to be an egg white girl just because I like the taste of it better. But you don't have to give up your yolks, again, if you don't have your own personal history of heart disease. And the yolk actually has a lot of beneficial nutrients to it, like vitamins A, D, E, and K, B12, folate, calcium, and carotenoids, right? And it can also have essential fatty acids like DHA and AA, right? The egg whites are still great. Again, I'm a personal an egg white girl. They have the protein and magnesium. And one thing we found as we were doing this, I like to buy the organic omega-3 eggs, but by throwing out the yolk, you don't get the benefits of the omega-3s. So it's actually just very expensive egg whites. So if you are an only egg white eater, then you can just buy regular eggs. Okay, so one of my favorite questions is frozen yogurt. Is frozen yogurt better than ice cream? And by us, they have a lot of these self-serve frozen yogurt places, and everybody thinks they're going and they're eating low calorie, but they're actually eating hundreds of calories worth of frozen yogurt. And sometimes to make the frozen yogurt taste good, you have to put on a lot of toppings, right? So we even say scoop for scoop, just have a small scoop of regular ice cream. You're going to feel more satisfied. I know people who have big things of frozen yogurt and then they come home and they eat candy and cookies. Again, it's just empty. It's like a bottomless pit. Some frozen yogurts can be full of chemicals and they need a lot of toppings to taste good. And also kind of another misconception, right? You go into the grocery store and you think you're being healthy and you're going to buy multi-grain bread, but sometimes, you have to read more than just what's on the front of the package. You really have to read the ingredients. And this happened to Hallie, right?
Yeah, I always bought multi-grain bread. It was brown in color. It had nice seeds on it. You thought it was much healthier than the white bread. But actuality, multi-grain isn't. What you really want to look for is 100% whole wheat bread or 100% whole grain bread. Because multi-grain just means what it sounds like, a lot of grains. And a lot of them might be white grains. They might not actually be the whole wheat grains. So this is something I did. I went from eating multi-grain bread to now only eating, whole wheat bread. So just be careful. Sometimes they'll just use caramel coloring to make it get that really nice brown color that looks healthy and hearty. But other than putting on some seeds and some colorings in it, a lot of what's in there is actually just white bread and white flour.
Right, so you just have to read the label and make sure, again, it's 100% whole wheat or 100% whole grain. Okay, good. All right, sushi.
So, a lot of times we go for sushi, you think it's always healthy, you think it's small pieces, but actually sushi is one of those things that's very deceiving. And we like to say, don't get a raw deal with sushi. Sushi rolls can have over 1,000 calories. That's a lot considering you're really not eating that much, What happens is when they make the rice for the sushi rolls, they're adding in a lot of sugar and a lot of salt. So you're already getting all these extra calories before you've even kind of put anything in your roll. That's just the rice that surrounds what you're eating. So you want to really make sure to kind of if you're going to get rolls, try to share them. Try to order something before, maybe get an edamame, a salad, chicken teriyaki, get things for the table so that you can share them. Because these sushi rolls are really just a lot of empty calories. It's a lot more carb than protein, so you're not going to be as full and as satiated. And if you're like us, you go for sushi, you feel full, and then a half hour later you're starving. And that's because you're really not getting those full, satisfying, fiber-filled calories. You're just getting a lot of salt and sugar. And yes, you're getting some, maybe raw fish with the sushi, but it's nothing that's going to keep you satisfied for a long period of time. So like we said, get the sushi, don't not have it, but try to split it and try to get other things there as well. And then the other thing that's really interesting with sushi is that a lot of times it's going to leave you dehydrated, again, because of the salt and the sugar. So when you get home, you're going to think you're starving, but your body's just craving water. Because dehydration and hunger actually have a lot of the same symptoms. So next time, whether it's from sushi or from whatever it's from, if you're really hungry and you feel like I shouldn't be hungry, you're probably not hungry. You're probably just thirsty. So have a big glass of water, wait 10, 15 minutes. In most circumstances, the hunger will subside because you really weren't hungry. Your body just mimics those two feelings the same way. So that's the problem with sushi and why a lot of times we're always starving afterwards. You're just not starving. Just be careful of those sake bombs. Those won't do any favors.
Okay, so this is my favorite part of the presentation. Who feels like, so I'm about to play a clip. Oh, you guys may not want to leave. This is a fun part of the presentation. It's okay. But I'm about to play a clip. Jimmy Kimmel went around the streets of LA because we find a lot of people, Ilyse, should I quit gluten? I heard gluten makes me fat. I feel like a lot of people just don't know what gluten is. So I'd like to know from the audience, does anybody feel like they know what gluten is? And would you say you avoid gluten or? No. Okay, good, right? And we'll kind of get into it in a little bit, but let me just play this video. It's short, but it's really funny.
As far as for me, how it affects my body.
But what is gluten?
This is pretty sad because I don't know.
We're 0 for 1. But I hate it, and I know. Next.
Do you maintain a gluten-free diet?
I do.
What is gluten?
All right, does this shirtless gentleman know it? Yes, okay.
Gluten's in bread. It's a flour derivative, wheat, things like that.
It's a flour derivative?
It's like bread, things like that, pastries.
It's in those things?
Yeah, it's in those things.
But what is it exactly?
Gluten is it's like a grain, right?
I like when he coughed. It's like, I'm sorry, I have some in my throat. Excuse me. All right, next.
Do you maintain a gluten-free diet?
Yeah, I try to the best of my ability, yeah.
What is gluten?
Does she know what gluten is? Oh.
It's the wheat in products such as like bread or pastas, rice.
Why do you avoid it?
It makes you fat. Like I said, I haven't researched it to the fullest. I have a girlfriend from Russia. She actually just got me into it. So she's reading a book about it.
Oh, okay. Russians.
All right, so we found that really amusing. Gluten does not make you fat. I hate using that word, but I only used it because they used it. So, and the definition of gluten is actually a specific protein found in wheat, rye, and barley, right? But a lot of people, like I said, come into my office. Ilyse, should I cut out gluten? I say, why? Are you having stomach upset? What's going on? No, everybody else is doing it. My coworker said I should cut out gluten and I'll lose weight. Which is not true, right? Again, if you have to cut out gluten because you have celiac disease or a gluten intolerance, then definitely cut it out. But do not just cut it out because everyone else is doing it or you think it's going to help you lose weight. And if you're really going to go there, to eliminate gluten, you have to, besides avoiding a lot of carbs, you have to avoid items like soy sauce, salad dressing, mustard, pickles, grain alcohol, instant coffee, and some vinegars, right? The thing, some people have said to me, well, Ilyse, I'm eating healthy, I'm having gluten-free pretzels. Well, gluten-free pretzels are still a pretzel, and they still have the same calories, and in fact, they actually have a little bit more fat and more carbs because they have additives in them to enhance the taste, okay? So we always say a gluten-free cookie is still a cookie. So just going gluten-free because doesn't necessarily equate weight loss. And same with dairy. I'm a huge dairy eater. And some people have come in and said, Ilyse, I'm going to cut out dairy. So I say, why are you having, again, GI issues? No, but it's going to help me lose weight, right? Well, actually, eliminating dairy alone won't help you move the scale, right? And dairy actually has a lot of important benefits. It has essential vitamins and minerals like calcium, vitamin D, but protein. I'm a huge Greek yogurt eater, and it has 16 to 18 grams of protein per 5 ounces. It obviously supports strong bones. The protein will help you feel satisfied and prevent overeating. But we do say try and stick to low-fat dairy, such as low-fat cheese, yogurt, and milk. And, again, cutting out both without a medical indication, can actually cause weight gain and nutritional deficiencies. Okay, protein.
So when it comes to protein bars, we all know they're extremely convenient, right? Whether you're shopping at Whole Foods or you're getting gas, there's a protein bar. There's probably about 30 of them wherever you go shopping to pick up. And we've all been there before. You've been in a jam, you're hungry, you have a protein bar. And that's, okay, because there's certain times that you just, need something and something's better than nothing. But as a general rule of thumb, try to avoid protein bars when you can because they're really not a meal replacement at all. Most of the time, you're getting the same amount of calories, fat, sugars that you'd be getting in, a Snickers bar. So, a lot of times they're masquerading as healthy bars when they're really just, a glorified candy bar with a lot of, enhanced protein, but it still has all the other stuff, I'll be politically correct, that a regular candy bar has. And what you want to look for, though, if you're going to have a protein bar is try to look for 15 or more grams of protein, 150 to 200 calories, 5 grams or less of fat, 8 grams or less of sugar, and try to make sure that they're balanced between carbs, protein, and fat. Our favorite bars that we, tend to stick to if we're going to eat them or recommend them to people are the Think Thin bars or a Quest bar or even Pure Protein. They have a lot of protein, like Pure Protein has 20 grams of protein, but only 2 grams of sugar. So just try to, really look at the labels on there. It's really important. Don't assume just because it's called healthy or balanced or smart or anything like that it's any of those things at all. You definitely want to check out the labels of protein bars and make sure, whenever possible, to eat food, but when you need a protein bar, try to stick within these categories.
All right. Alcohol, another favorite subject, right? And I mean, I have a lot of people, trust me, we're not against drinking.
Well, now I
unless
am,
you're pregnant. But, I have a lot of people say, well, I'm just going to cut out, a little bit of my dinner so I can have a drink. Well, alcohol is actually processed differently in your body than regular food calories. It has no nutritional value, and the calories are actually empty, right? We say your best bet is to stick to a glass of red or white wine, but again, it has 150 calories. I think a lot of people don't realize the calorie content a lot of these beverages have. If you're like going away, you're on the beach, I feel like I've seen it, downing those pina coladas, 450 calories plus tons of carbs and tons of sugar, so you're better off just getting a white wine spritzer or something like that, or those pretty blue drinks, stay away from anything with like those pretty umbrellas. If you're going to drink beer, stick with ultra low carb beer, which has less than half the calories of regular beer. And mixed drinks can also be like a calorie killer. Stick to one mixer, but again, avoid like juices and cranberry. Somebody the other day was like, well, what about some cranberry juice? Let's try club soda, sparkling water, try adding a lemon or lime. Or if you really miss it, use a tiny splash of cranberry juice. And something we learned as we were writing our book, ounce for ounce, I never knew this, like alcohol has proof, right? So the stronger the alcohol content, 70, 80, 90 proof, that's actually the more calories it has. So that's just something to really be mindful of as you're drinking.
Breakfast. So this is one of our more controversial questions, if you would, because it's very surprising. But first, obviously, don't skip breakfast no matter what you do. It helps with brain function, mood, metabolism, energy, all the things that are really important to making sure you have a great day. So no matter what time you get up, have breakfast and make sure to try to get it in there between 30 to 60 minutes of waking up if you can. Also, if you avoid breakfast, it's not going to make you, kind of at the end of the day, lose calories. Actually, what studies show is that if you skip breakfast, you end up eating more calories because your body's playing catch up the whole day. So you never just it's never void of those calories that you skipped in the morning. You're going to pick them up throughout the day because your body's not functioning at its optimal best because it didn't start off that way. And you all know then you're just playing catch up the rest of the day. But what's really interesting is we've all seen those Saturday morning, quote-unquote, commercial cereals, right, that you stay away from or you keep your kids away from because they must be full of sugar and artificial colors and sweeteners. And, that might be true, but I guess I'll ask you guys a question. Out of the ones on the right, the Raisin Bran, the Goleen Crunch, the Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and the Mini Wheats, what would you guys think would be the best or the worst cereals to eat? Anybody have any thoughts? Is it the best or the worst? Anybody else? So it's true. Actually, Raisin Bran has 18 grams of sugar. And then your Cinnamon Toast Crunch, 9 grams of sugar. So it's literally half. And same with if you're talking about like Fruit Loops and Smart Start. Fruit Loops has 10 grams of sugar. Smart Start has 14.
Right, I know, that's like the...
So it's really interesting, right? Because here you are, you would never put Fruit Loops in your shopping cart for your kid, but you're, filling it up with Smart Start for you. And we're not here to say Smart Start is bad. Again, we're just saying in the course of your day, if you're trying to watch your sugar, by eating something that's smart really isn't so smart. So just either be careful with portion control or don't have it every single day if it's a cereal that you love. And be careful. One of the cereals that I used to eat until we wrote this book, was okay with the sugar and all those other things, but when I looked at the other ingredients, it had all these artificial colors and dyes in there and all these preservatives. And again, it was a cereal geared towards adults that, marketed as being very healthy, and it's not. Yeah, so my oatmeal squares. It's just a matter of really being careful, because just because it's not marketed towards kids, you'd be surprised that some of the stuff that you're totally avoiding is better than the stuff that you're buying for yourself.
Right. I would say that was, kind of the biggest shock to a lot of people. Okay, artificial sweeteners. Anyone in here want to admit that they use the pink, yellow, or blue packets? Right? Or anybody think that Truvia or Stevia is much better? Okay, here we go. Right? So, also one of my favorite questions. So, artificial sweeteners. They're very controversial too. The pink packet, Sweet and Low, saccharin, has 300 to 500 times sweeter than regular sugar, equals 200 times sweeter, and Splenda is actually 600 times sweeter than regular sugar. And what they're finding is that it can actually interfere with the body's ability to regulate itself, resulting in weight gain, preventing weight loss, and even causing some stomach aches. Your taste buds change and they're forced to adjust, and actually you crave more sweet to be more satisfied. And then nutritious foods like fruits and vegetables don't, seem sweet or taste good anymore because your body's used to all this extra sweetness. And numerous studies have shown that the use of artificial sweeteners, including Truvia and Stevia, we say if it's in a packet, if it's powdery and in a packet, you shouldn't do it. The best thing you can do is stevia leaf extract, which is a dropper, but even the stevia in a packet, if it's white and powdery, it means it's been processed. But the use of any of these has been linked to like a higher body mass index. So really be careful. And I give an example, and I always claim I'm by no means perfect. I used to drink a ton of Diet Coke. I used to put Equal in my oatmeal. And I stopped when I got pregnant with my first child, and I lost 5 pounds, and I wasn't even trying to lose weight. So I think it's a really good thing to do if you can get off of them. If you use a lot per day, just start kind of tapering down. And again, the stevia leaf extract in a dropper, which you can buy in almost any health food store or buy online, is your best bet. And then what about sugar, right? So, and I see a lot of people who are trying to avoid sugar, but it's gotten really tricky these days because I feel like the food companies have gotten really sneaky at hiding it, right? It's not just listed as sugar anymore, right? And you also want to add, besides looking at the sugar content, which is easy, you look at a nutrition label and you can read how many grams, but you want to make sure you look out for added sugars, right? If you don't see sugar listed as an ingredient, it doesn't mean it's not there. So foods that end in ose, dextrose, fructose, glucose, sucrose, right? A lot of people, I feel like, miss the sucrose. anything that uses syrup or juice, corn syrup, maple syrup, even like fruit juice concentrate, cane juice. And again, if it's organic cane juice, it's still organic cane juice and sugar. And then less obvious names like dextrin, honey, hydrogenated starch, molasses. I mean, even people say to me, well, isn't agave better for you? Agave still is sugar, and it still raises your blood sugar. So it's all just, again, this is just an FYI. If you're someone who's trying to avoid sugar, these are things to watch out for. Okay, our health halo foods, right? So again, a lot of these foods, people are like, oh, well, dried fruit is healthy, Ilyse. I mean, I got it asked yesterday in my office. Dried fruit is not healthy, right? So, and the person asked me, why not? Well, dried fruit is obviously, right, all the water content is taken out to dry it up. It's depleted of nutrients. It's not filling. It's basically just like a healthier version of candy. And it's loaded with calories and sugar. So raisins, craisins, dried apricots, right? You're always better off just eating the real fruit. You will feel more full. And you'll get the fiber and the water, which actually fills you up.
Veggie pasta is another one of those things, I guess I'll kind of, it's like, yes, you can have a serving of vegetables if you have veggie pasta, but you could have a serving of apples by having a slice of apple pie. Right. It doesn't mean that it's healthy for you or that it's something you should do. If you're looking for a healthier pasta, try whole wheat pasta. Also in the book we talk about quinoa and farro and all those different types of things that we discuss in the book. But you're not getting really any fiber, you're not really getting any nutrients, so avoid things with veggie pasta. Just because it says veggie in it does not mean that it's healthy or that it really actually contains a lot of veggie. Most of the times it just contains a little bit of veggie powder.
Right. And same with the veggie chips, right? These came out a few years ago, and I'll admit it, my kids wanted me to buy them, and do I buy them from time to time? Of course, but I know what they are. They're still a chip, they're just a healthier chip, they're just not as greasy and don't have as much fat. Again, it's made from veggie powder. It's not, unless you're making it at home by yourself and making zucchini chips, and they have a similar calorie count to regular chips. So we kind of just say, don't fool yourself. Know what you're kind of eating, but it's not healthy, and you're certainly not getting a serving of vegetables.
And same with fruit juices. A lot of time you could think, oh, it has apple, it has orange again ahead of it, so it must be a healthy kind of a juice or a drink. It's not. Fruit juices are very high in sugar. Let's say, for example, Mott's apple juice has 28 grams of sugar. Do you know what that's equivalent to? The same size of a Pepsi. So you're getting the same amount of sugar in the juice that you are a Pepsi, and you'd probably avoid the Pepsi because of the amount of sugar, not to mention all the other stuff that comes with soda. So again, it's just a matter of being smart. If you're don't load up on juices every day. If you want an orange juice in the morning, on a Sunday, whatever, of course, go for it, but just don't make it a regular habit because it really is full of sugar and it doesn't have any of the fiber that you'd get from just having a regular orange.
Right. And this happened to happen in my office yesterday. They were like, well, what about fresh squeezed juice? I mean, think about it. How many oranges do you have to squeeze to fill up a glass? But you'd be satisfied just eating one full orange. So I think that's a really good image to always have in your head. Trail mix and granola, again, it's one of those foods that get marketed as healthy. Everybody's like, granola is healthy, right? Granola has tons of calories, tons of fat, tons of sugar, tons of carbs. If you're going to have some, have a little, right? 2 tablespoons. Serving size is really important, but you're better off just having whole grain cereal in your yogurt, versus granola.
And then these buzzwords now, right? You go into a supermarket, they even have their own special aisles of healthy aisles, and it says natural, it says skinny, smart, from the earth. Don't fall into those things. They really don't mean anything. Just so you know, natural, according to the government, has no meaning at all. So if it means something to you and something to you, you're both right, and you're both wrong. There's absolutely no definitive answer to what the word natural means. So, it might be natural, and it might have some beneficial qualities to it, but it also might not. Same with things like reduced fat versus regular fat. Sometimes it might make a difference because, you might cut it from 10 down to 5. But other times you might be cutting something down from 2 down to 1. But what do they need to put in there to make it taste as good, right? If you're taking some stuff out of a cookie, you're going to have to put something back in to make it taste better. And sometimes there'll be lots of chemicals, a lot of additives, a lot of extra sugar. So don't just look at, let's say, just the fat or just the calories. Look at it in total. And also always make sure to look at the other ingredients to see what they're replacing it with.
Okay, cool. All right. Do I really need to take vitamins if I eat well? Oh, that's you.
Sure. So here's the thing, right? We all want to believe that we're eating well, but an interesting statistic, from the USDA was that it would take 7 cups of spinach today to get the nutritional content that you would get from the same cup of spinach in the 1960s. So no matter how well we think we're eating, and it doesn't mean not to have spinach, of course it means to eat spinach, but it just means you're not getting what you used to get from it. And that's because of over-farming, depleted soils. Things aren't really farm to table anymore. Things are coming up from Costa Rica, and a lot of times they have to pick things early. No matter, even if you're eating well, you're not eating as well as you think. It's also hard to eat well all the time, right? Like, we're busy. Sometimes you have to go fast food and pick something up. You're going to the pizza place. You're grabbing that protein bar instead of having a good lunch. So you have to look at vitamins as an insurance policy. You're just doing it to supplement, which is, vitamins are supplements, and supplements means in addition to. So you should never have a supplement instead of. You should always have it in addition to. So eat as well as you can, but give yourself that insurance policy to make sure that you're just getting the nutritional boost that you need kind of to fill in those gaps that you may not be getting from your diet day to day. So it really is important. The same way you have medical insurance and car insurance, think of this as your body's insurance. And it's a great way to just kind of make sure that you're not avoiding your body, because when you don't give your body the vitamins and minerals it needs, it's not going to perform as optimally as you want it to.
Okay, perfect. All right, vitamin D. Anyone in here been told they're vitamin D deficient? Right? Oh, wow, most of the room, which, not that that's good, but actually nearly 77% of Americans are deficient in vitamin D, right? We're wearing sunscreen. We're not spending as much time in the sun. And I think just overall, it's just harder for our bodies to process it. And it's not really very present in the food supply in terms of vitamin D. Now, vitamin D deficiency, right? So if you've been told you're low in vitamin D, it's really important that you take a supplement, whether you take just a vitamin D supplement or you buy a multivitamin with at least 1,000 of vitamin D in it. But there's consequences, right? It can lead to bone pain and muscle weakness, fatigue, fractures, cognitive impairments. It also says that it can lead to depression, diabetes, severe asthma in children, and even some cancer. So it's really important. It looks like most of you have gotten it tested. If you haven't, go get tested. And if you're not taking a supplement for it, it's very important to take the supplement. It's super easy. They're tiny pills. It's only found in some food, some fish, and fortified foods. So again, definitely take your supplement.
So we get asked a lot about probiotics as well. So what is probiotic? Probiotic is actually good bacteria. There is such a thing. The term bacteria is not always something bad. Probiotics help break down your food. They absorb nutrients. They support your immunity. And they can help protect against toxins. We all know, right? Like they always say, a lot of things always start in the gut, right? And that's one of the reasons why your probiotic is important, because it's kind of taking care of everything that's in there. What kind of disturbs your stomach and the things that are going on in there? Poor diet, medications, any kind of stress, whether it's environmental, physical, emotional, all these different things wreak havoc, we all know, on our stomach, right? Like as soon as you get nervous, your stomach hurts. You eat something bad, your stomach hurts. So these are the things that your probiotics can kind of help control. There's different ways you can get it. One is by food. You can get soft cheeses, sauerkraut, kefir, miso, tempeh, and also yogurts. But don't assume that all yogurts have probiotics. Unless it says it has the live cultures, it doesn't have probiotics. So it's just something to think of. A lot of these frozen yogurt places will be like, oh, we have, probiotics. It's in one strain. It's probably, one flavor. It's probably like the Greek yogurt flavor. But your cookies and cream frozen yogurt probably does not have probiotics in it. Sorry to, burst your bubble there. But you can also look at supplements if you want. A good thing to do would be look for enteric coating, because it kind of helps protect it, get down to the gut and do what it needs to do down there. You can also look for a combination of probiotics and prebiotics. Look for a combination of 5 billion CFUs. Again, there's a lot of people out there who's like, oh, we have 1 billion. Okay, 1 billion's better than 0, but look for 5 billion if you can, because you're not always getting what you want. And just because it has the word billion in there, that doesn't mean that it's necessarily a lot. They're obviously very, very small and tiny. And then these are just some examples of some strains you want to look for: Lactobacillus acidophilus, and you can see the rest here, but those are just some of the strains you'd want to look for.
All right.
All right, I'll make this really quick. How do you know what vitamins to buy when you go in, right? I'm sure a lot of you have gone in, your eyes kind of glaze over. What's the difference between this vitamin and that vitamin? How do I know the difference? So I'll go over here. If my belly gets in the way, just tell me. But okay, so what you want to do first is look for suggested use up on the top. Who is it for? Is it for kids? Is it for adults? Is it for women? Is it for men? People over 18. How many am I supposed to take in a day? Do not assume that every vitamin is one a day. There are a lot of vitamins out there that require multiple a day throughout the day, or let's say there's even some gummy products out there that require 8 a day. So those are the types of things you have to really be careful of. Make sure you're reading it, because if you're only taking 1 and the dosage calls for 4, you're only getting a quarter of the nutrients you think you're getting. So that's the serving size. Those are the instructions. Here it has sugar, carbohydrates. Let's say it doesn't have sugar. That means there's no sugar in the product. So you don't have to go searching for it. It just means, there's no quantifiable sugar in a product. If it's not listed, it's not in there. That's the same thing with nutrients. So for example, here you could see vitamin A, vitamin C. You see there's no B vitamins here? I'm sorry. B down here. This is a different slide. Sorry. So there's B here. There's B6, but there's no B1 or B2. That means it's not in the product. So don't say, oh, it must be somewhere else, or I don't understand. This has to be in a very specific order. Anything above this thick line here is regulated. So if it's not there and you're trying to compare 2 bottles next to each other, it means there is none. So it's just a good way to know what's in your vitamin and what's not. Also, the daily value is how much you should have. 100% means you're just getting your optimal you're getting enough not to be deficient. So if it has 100% vitamin C or 100% vitamin D, that means you're not going to get scurvy or rickets. It doesn't mean you have the optimal amount. So don't necessarily be afraid of something that has 100%. You don't want something that has, 10,000% of something, but 100% shouldn't really scare you. And again, you want to see kind of comparable things. Take them and look at them. If they all have 100%, that's probably where you want to be. If one only has 5%, it's probably low in something. And then anything below the line just means it doesn't have a standard daily value there. So it just lets you know what it is or isn't in the product. And then down here are the ingredients. That's where you'll find kind of those words Ilyse spoke about before, things that might be hiding for sugar. You'll also find here, let's say something like gelatin. If you're a vegetarian, you're not going to want gelatin in your product. So it's something this is where you'll kind of find down there what's here. And also now they all say if they either have allergens or don't have allergens anymore. So don't feel like you have to settle with a vitamin. If you don't want sugar, you don't want gluten, you don't want GMOs, there's so many options out there. And even if you're confused, call the company, see if they'll send you a sample. Most reputable companies can or will, and it's a great way to try to see if something agrees with you or not.
Okay, perfect. All right, wrapping up, right? So this is our last slide. So steps for optimal success, right? Don't skip meals. Start with breakfast and eat every 3 hours, every 3 to 4 to 5 hours throughout the day. You want to fuel your body your best with high-quality food. You want to stay hydrated, very, very important. Get that. They have, free water bottles out there. Fill it up all day long. If you have a busy day, plan ahead. I have a lot of people say, oh, I didn't think about that. I always have in my bag an apple, some almonds, whatever, some carrots, a bunch of things. Aim for 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night. That's very, very important. A lot of people, there's a lot of research that says lack of sleep can lead to weight gain and overeating. So turn off your devices at night, turn off the TV. If you have to, I cover my cable box because that's even too bright, and try and aim for 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Be active, and if you can't get to the gym, aim for about 10,000 steps per day. A lot of people have Fitbits or their iPhones even track your steps. Don't ignore the power of proper supplementation, everything in moderation, and honor and respect your body. So thank you. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Now we have time for some questions. I'm sure we must have questions about things you're eating and wonder if that's really a good idea or if there's a substitute.
Just had a question about supplements. For optimal absorption, with food, without food, any suggestions? Because that's the whole trick, is to make sure it's getting absorbed, right?
So there's, your water-soluble vitamins, your fat-soluble vitamins. Most things will have both. So in order to get the fat-soluble vitamins to really kind of absorb their best and do their best, you'd want to eat it with food. And a lot of times people get nauseous from some supplements. They don't go down as easy. And if you kind of coat your stomach before with food, so I would say most of the time, if you can, try to take it with food, unless the directions say, take on an empty stomach or something. But I would say 9 out of 10 times, try to take it with or around the time that you're eating. It's also a good idea because you're always eating, right? Like you're eating at least 3 meals a day. So you're going to remember to take your vitamins. Where if you kind of just take it randomly throughout the day, it's going to become less of a habit. And it's going to be much easier to remember, to become a part of your pattern, because vitamins will not work if you don't take them. So it's also easier to take them for sure if you're with a meal, and it just becomes more of a habit. But yeah.
It doesn't hinder any absorption?
9 out of 10 times, no.
Okay.
Okay. Some other questions? I have a question about the protein bars. I'm a big protein bar eater. How about protein drinks, protein powder? I usually mix it with frozen fruit and milk.
It's the same kind of thing, right? Like, it's better to have a piece of chicken than it is to have a protein shake, but if you need extra protein or you're not really getting enough, try to do it, but don't make it like an everyday thing, especially if you're not one of these like huge bodybuilders who's in the gym every day. You know, you can usually, as long as you're, you know, incorporating protein into your breakfast, lunch, or dinner, make sure you're getting enough. It's not a bad thing. Again, it just usually has calories, fat, and sugar that you don't normally need, and that don't really offer any of the fiber or some of, like, you know, you have a piece of chicken, you're getting this like wealth of, you know, different kinds of vitamins and minerals and antioxidants, all these different things. You're having protein powder, it's very specific to what you're getting. I mean, I'm in the supplement industry. I obviously believe very much in these things, but it's not something that you want to replace real food. It's something, again, in addition to, not instead of.
And also read labels, because I feel like whether they hide sugar in there or artificial sweeteners or colors or something like that, so it's really important just to read the ingredient facts label too.
Okay. There must be some more questions. Let me get over here so everybody can hear your question.
Hi, what about soy these days? It was great, then it wasn't great. I've heard, you know, I switched to almond milk rather than soy milk's not good. What do you have to say about soy?
So, right, so soy is very controversial, and almost like anything, right? 1 week soy is great, 1 week soy is gonna give you cancer, blah, 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 blah. My experience is I tell anybody who has a family history of breast cancer to avoid soy. If you don't have a family or personal history, like close family member, aunt, grandma, sister, then you could have soy, whole soy in moderation, edamame, tofu, soy milk. But you know what? I say be cautious and have the almond milk over the soy milk. I'd rather save my soy because I really do enjoy edamame occasionally. And also that actually goes with protein bars. A lot of protein bars have soy protein isolate in them, as do frozen waffles, as do a bunch of other things. So that, I would say, is like more the culprit. Where it says soy protein isolate, that's like the dangerous soy. Soy from edamame, soy milk. Again, it's, if you don't have the family history, I would say in moderation. If you have a family history of breast cancer, I would say avoid.
Some other questions?
It's a great question, though.
Yeah, that is a great question.
Sorry, back to the soy. Is there a connection with soy and hormones when kids are growing up, like interfering with male hormones, that kind of thing? I've read about it years ago, but I haven't heard anything about it. Do you know anything about that?
A little bit. So it's interesting. They actually say soy for men, not boys, but soy for men actually helps to protect against prostate cancer. As for boys, that I'm not sure. And then as for like teenage girls, right, they even say milk. You know, like girls are menstruating earlier because of the milk and the hormones in the milk. But soy for men can protect against prostate cancer. Soy in the teenage years is kind of iffy. I would say, again, if you can avoid, because it's so here and there, every week they change their mind, I would say.
And again, it's not as much the food as it is all the other ingredients,
right,
like these soy protein isolates. Like if a boy has edamame at a sushi dinner, that's not really what they're talking about. It's all these kind of like processed soy ingredients.
Right, but also I wouldn't drink 3 glasses of soy milk because you think it's healthy, that type of thing.
Any other questions? Because Ilyse and Hallie will be right outside signing their book shortly. And then I want to mention at noon, you will be in the chef demonstration area. That's in one of the rooms down the hall with How Healthy Is My Salad? That's a great topic. So please give a hand for Ilyse Schapiro and Halie Rich. Thank you so much.
Thank you.